Hello, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the start of another Kindle Unlimited reading vlog. In this vlog, I'm going to be reading 3 semi-new release contemporary romances, and I'm so excited for it. I actually already filmed the intro to this video, and it was going to be a dark romance reading vlog, but I got like a couple of pages into the first book that I picked out for that video, and I just was not feeling it, and you know what I'm not gonna do is force myself to read books that I don't want to read at the moment. I'll probably get to that video at some point soon, but I just wasn't feeling it, and I am so feeling these romances for this video. In fact, I already finished one and gave it 4 stars, which we love to see. I'm going to be reading, like I said, our semi-new release contemporaries. I didn't really know how else to like categorize this video. It's just books that I want to read and books I'm excited about, and hopefully you are excited about them as well. So first up, we have Reverse by Kate Stewart. This book is the second in a duet, but it follows a different couple at the end. The first couple, if that makes sense. It's like the children of the couple. No siblings. I'm making it sound weird, okay, right? So Drive, the first book in the duet, is a book about a woman named Stella who ends up having to like decide between a man who owns a newspaper and a man who is a drummer, I want to say, like a struggling artist musician. And it is a really intense, really angsty, really moody story. I can't remember if I rated that one 4 or 5 stars, but I really did like it. It isn't without problem, but I did ultimately like the romance because I do think Kate Stewart does such a good job at writing angsty romances that really connect with me. And this one follows the children of various couples. So Stella ends up with one guy, they have a kid, and then the rejected, I guess you could say, a leg of that love triangle ends up getting married to someone else that has a kid, and then those 2 kids get together. So there's no like, they're not siblings, obviously. It's their romance, and it is steeped in angst and tension, is what I've heard, and it is based kind of in the music industry as well, because one of the children, I want to say, is a musician, and the other one is a journalist, and so it's kind of history repeating itself, but I think it's also, you know, it's not a love triangle, it's a completely different story, and I'm very excited to give it a go. I think the good news is that you don't have to read them together. I guess you could say you don't have to read Drive before you read Reverse. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be a good time. I'm like a few pages into it so far. That's the book I'm reading today, actually. Next book that I want to read is Give Me More by Sarah Kate. I can never remember the names of the books in the Salacious Players Club series. This is the 3rd one. It follows Drake and Hunter and Isabel. Hunter and Isabel are married. Drake is their friend, and they may or may not be having some sort of like relationship together. I'll tell you more about like the synopsis and the feelings and stuff, the vlog portion of this video. And then the last book that I want to read is one that I feel like I don't know much about because I haven't really done much research, right? It's Blindside by Candy Steiner. I feel like I keep seeing this everywhere on Instagram. Like everyone is talking about it. Everyone is loving it. It's a sports romance, which there's one thing I like, it's a sports romance. So I'm very excited to give this one a go as well. And yeah, I just think a variety of different things in this here video, but hopefully all will be 4 or 5 star romances. Maybe that'll be just the title of this video. I found amazing romances to read. Do you want to see me read them? Because that's what this is hopefully going to be. Let me go ahead and take you into the vlog portion of this video. I'll take you back to yesterday when I filmed the first clip for Give Me More, and then I'll meet you back here so I can tell you my final thoughts on Give Me More. The way I see it, there's like a 50-50 shot that me and my mullet actually show up horizontally, so I don't know how seriously I'm going to take this clip. I uploaded the intro for this video. It's fully vertical, like a fucking iPhone video, so we'll see if this one turns out that way. If it doesn't, cool. And also, I'll film an intro later. Why am I telling you this? You don't give a fuck. I'm 20, 30 some percent into Give Me More by Sarah Kate, and it's hot. It's exactly what I needed it to be. It is shucking my corn, stroking my satin. That sounds okay, I take that back. This story is about Hunter and Derek and Isabel. Hunter and Isabel are married. They're like the married couple of this like sex group. Really a sex group. Like they have their own sex club, and everyone's single at the beginning of the book. You know, they like meet up, and we get to see how the app and the sex club was like formed. Isabel and Hunter are the only ones that are like in a relationship, and they end up getting married. Okay. Drake is their bestie. Drake was there the day that Hunter met Isabel. She is like best friends with Drake, but so is Hunter. Like they're all just like one big happy family. And Drake sometimes feels self-conscious because he's like, they kind of treat me like a child, just like has sex with lots of people. I think he called women mattress ornaments at one point, which I didn't totally love, but he's at least honest about the fact that he is a fuckboy. Hunter discovers that he has a thing for the idea of Drake fucking his wife, and not just any man, but specifically, why did I say man like that? Specifically Drake. Drake is gonna fuck his wife. Maybe not. Maybe they're all gonna fuck. I hope they all fuck. Goddamn. If they don't all fuck, I'm gonna be really disappointed. And I feel like Drake at the beginning of the book says he's bisexual, but Hunter says he's straight. So like maybe that'll change. I'm not entirely sure, but he's aroused when Hunter ties up his wife Isabel when they're like on a visit to a sex club. I guess at the beginning of the book they're like touring different sex clubs across the country to get inspiration, blah blah blah. Yeah, he's like, wow, this shibari's really getting me moist, and I want my best friend to fuck my wife. So, you know, that's something that's gonna happen. I really am looking very mullety. I need to take a shower because my hair is scary. Looks good. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I think all of these books are, you know, are you into the book? Can you get on board with the book even if you're not into the kink in the book? I mean, you know what I mean? Praise was a little too pathetic for me, but I liked Eyes on Me. I'm liking this one. I don't know if I'm going to like it as much as the second one. I feel like I will like it more just knowing myself. I've heard mixed things though from people, so we'll see. We'll see how things go. I think the only way that I could not 100% love this is if it really is just Hunter's really into the idea of Drake having sex with his wife. Like, if that's it, I don't know. Like, I just think that's kind of boring. I mean, I guess it's not boring. I mean, I've never read anything like this, but it's just not what I am envisioning for this book. I want a happy family. I want 3 people in a relationship together. Maybe that's asking too much. I'm not really sure. What I am sure of is that I need to feed my cats and wash my hair. So I'm going to do that, and I'll update you tomorrow on my final thoughts on this book. Could I update you throughout the length of the story, whatever? Sure. But like, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be sexual tension before they all just bone down. I mean, it's a smutty book, and I'm here for it. Okay, so my bangs are to the side like they were in the introduction of this video because I just clicked the record button again, okay? I'm feeling a little bit less Joan Jett and a little bit more confident about my hair. I don't know. Something about the bangs, like I like them, but I'm not confident in them yet. I am, however, done with Give Me More by Sarah Kate, and it was cute. I actually really enjoyed the story. I think this one's a tough and an interesting one to talk about because I read the Goodreads reviews after finishing it because while I found this a very satisfying polyamorous story, I feel like everybody's experiences with these kinds of topics and how books are written, they're gonna differ, obviously, right? Everybody has opinions, and I wanted to see, you know, how other, you know, people in current polyamorous relationships felt about this book and or felt about just various depictions in the story. Some people said that they didn't enjoy the relationship between Hunter and Drake very much. They felt like it was a little bit fetishized. Some people said the polyamorous relationship in general just wasn't realistic, and I think, again, like everybody's mileage is going to vary, especially depending on how you conceptualize relationships, whatever. I don't feel like anything in this particular portrayal was offensive, but I am not a bisexual man in a polyamorous relationship, so who am I to say, like, if this is the best representation or whatever? I just wanted to put that out there because the Goodreads reviews for this book are kind of mixed, and it was something I wanted to, like, look at before giving my final thoughts. I personally found this to be a really satisfying romance. I do think there could have been more in the way of relationship development. Full transparency, I gave this book 4 stars, but I did actually find it really nice. Now, all of the books in the series are very sex heavy. Okay? If you don't like sex scenes and that does not excite you, I don't think the Salacious Players Club series is maybe for you. There's a lot of sex in this book. However, I do think the sex does tend to bring the relationships forward in every book in this series, right? Like, the sex is an integral part of the relationships, kink is an integral part of the relationships here, and there are moments of, I would say, like, romantic relationship development. Maybe it's not the most romantic or tension-filled or angsty or puzzle piecey romance I've ever read, but I've liked all of the books for the most part in the series. Even if the first one wasn't my favorite, like, I understand why people like it. This one was no exception. I loved seeing Hunter, Drake, and Isabel come into this polyamorous relationship, take something that was once sexual and make it into something that felt authentic and it felt real to them. I liked that their relationships with each other were all different, which I think is, again, authentic to a polyamorous relationship. All polyamorous relationships look different. Just because, like, someone is married and has a boyfriend doesn't necessarily mean that the husband they're married to and the boyfriend also are in a relationship together. In this particular book, they do end up in a romantic triad, if you will, which I personally really like, and yeah, I felt it very satisfying. I liked it. I don't know why I'm trying to, like, justify this as if everybody's, like, coming for this book and saying it's bad. That's not the case, but I do think it's important, especially when you're reading about things that maybe you're not, like, currently engaged in or have never been engaged in, to, like, read reviews from people who have been in these kinds of relationships, just to make sure that what you're reading, like, isn't offensive or doesn't misrepresent, I guess, a certain type of kink or certain type of relationship. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I liked this book. I thought it was cute. I also thought it was hot. I liked the sexual encounters. They were fun, and I think something that Sarah Kate does that is different than a lot of authors is she makes the, like I said, sex integral into, like, the relationship development of the story, but also she makes all of the scenes interesting. I never felt like, oh my god, yawn, flip the page. Maybe it's because there's kink in these books, but it makes it more interesting when you're having to read repeated sex scenes, when the sex scenes are at least interesting. So I liked it. I thought it was good. Now moving on to a book with a completely different tone and a completely different feel that I've gotten like 6% of the way into, Reverse by Kate Stewart. This book is about, it's so hard to know how to talk about it because I don't really want to spoil the first book in the series and who Stella ends up with. So I am going to avoid last names. Easton is our hero, Natalie is our heroine. Natalie is a journalist and Easton is a musician. And at the start of the story, Natalie is kind of trying to unravel her parents' past. She's trying to kind of like figure out how they came to be in a relationship and also kind of find out more about the past loves in her parents' lives because of some information that has kind of like been unveiled to her. And then we have Easton, who is a musician and he's kind of famous because of who his parents are, but he is trying to put out his first album. And I think his like presence in the media is very low key. He doesn't really like to be photographed. He doesn't really want any press. And so he's releasing his first album without any sort of press attached. And Natalie, I think, is going to try to reach out to Easton and be like, hey, I feel like you probably know a little bit about like our parents' past together. So why don't we like link up, and also like maybe I'll give you maybe publicity for your album. I don't know if he's gonna want that or not. We haven't really gotten that far. Right now we know a little bit about Natalie and we know a little bit about Easton, but we haven't really gotten in his head. I actually don't know if we're gonna get his point of view or not. I'm assuming so, but like we'll see. I will say, compared to some other books that I've read recently, the writing in this book is feeling a little clunkier than I had anticipated. I remember just really loving the way that Kate Stewart writes and how angsty and tension-filled her books are, but just something about the writing I'm not totally meshing with at the 6% mark, and that's kind of why I wanted to check in with you here, because I'm like, I'm invested in the story, I'm interested because I've read Drive before, but I don't know, the writing is something that's just like sticking out to me. It's not bad, it's just not necessarily as like succinct and as quick to read as like an Elizabeth O'Rourke, who I've been reading like a ton of books from, so it's just kind of a jarring contrast, but that doesn't mean that like the writing's bad. So I'll be curious to see what happens as this book unfolds. I'm planning on reading this all tonight, which is a little ambitious given that this book is like 600 pages, but I've got time. I also have an audiobook to listen to like in between this book, so I'm planning on getting it knocked out and done. I'll take you along that journey with me, have my handy vlog camera, and hopefully my stomach won't hurt again today. I feel like I've just been having stomach aches anytime I eat dinner, and I think that's maybe why the intro to this video didn't go so well. I was like holding my camera over my head like this with my tripod, and it filmed in like iPhone mode. Like, what the fuck is that all about? Anyway, I'll be back. Okay, so it's been like a week. No, it's been 2 weeks since I have picked back up on this vlog, and much has changed. I am recovered from an illness, which is nice. I unfortunately will be temporarily pausing and or DNFing Reverse by Kate Stewart. I've been valiantly trying to read this book for the past couple of days, and honestly, it's just kind of a slog to get through. I don't know if it's because it's 600 pages. No, I do know why. Let me just try to break it down, okay? This book is so overwrought and overwritten. It is challenging to read. I was talking to Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life about this when we were on our live show for Twisted Lies, and we were talking about how what an indie romance needs to do is to not be distracting. Like, what the writing needs to do is not be distracting. It doesn't need to be flowery and like the most beautiful prose ever. It just needs to be something that doesn't distract me from the story, and unfortunately the writing in Reverse is really distracting me from the story. I mentioned it a little bit ago, or like in the last clip most likely, but it is just, it's so hard to put a finger on, because it's not like it is like rife with grammatical errors or anything like that. It's just, there's too much detail written about certain things. Like, we'll have a character, let's say, moving from one place to another, like moving from a booth to the bar or something like that, and we'll get 2 or 3 paragraphs talking about how they moved their bodies to that place. And then in addition to that, we also have these really interesting, I guess you could say, like dialogue moments between our hero and our heroine, and I think that's, for me, what's really like, I don't want to say the nail in the coffin for this book. I'm sure I'll finish it at some point, but I'm really struggling with our hero and our heroine. So our heroine ends up going visit our hero and like does an interview with him, I guess you could say. She kind of lies about the reason that she's going to interview him in the first place, and they have a couple of like altercations about this, I guess you could say, and he is constantly trying to like to get to the bottom of things and like get her to bear her truth and stuff, and you'll have like one character storm off and then they'll make up, and then in the next scene it'll be like the same sort of dialogue situation with the same sort of one character getting upset and walking away. It feels overly dramatic, a little bit overwrought. It's not really driving the story forward. I'm not really understanding the tension between these 2 characters. I can kind of feel the chemistry between them, but I'm not really understanding where the book's fucking going. Like, it's not connecting with me, it's not clicking, and I feel like I've seen so many TikToks or, I don't know, just like reviews or videos or whatever about this book that have been like, this book killed me, I cried, I was gutted, blah, 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 and I'm like, I mean, I guess I'm not that far in. I was only like 20% in when I decided to set this down, but I'm not getting it. I'm really not getting it. And it's heartbreaking because I wanted to have like an emotional romance to read, I guess. It's been a while since I've like really become emotionally invested in a story. Don't get me wrong, I love Elizabeth O'Rourke books. I do get invested in her stories, but something like really gritty and heart-wrenching, because that's what Kate Stewart tends to write. This one is just not totally doing it for me. I feel like it needed a little bit more editing. So, hate to DNF a book, but I think this video will be plenty long without it, and I just needed to speak my truth. That's how I'm feeling about this book. A book that I've started that I'm actually enjoying more, though I'm not very far in, 10% into Blindside by Candy Steiner. I was about to say Carrie Steiner. Candy Steiner. And it's cute. I like it. Our main character, I cannot remember his name, our hero, he is a football player and he has recently been dumped by his high school sweetheart. He has historically been a very like bubbly, rambunctious, energetic, like pleasing to interview football player. He's a safety, I want to say. At the start of the story, he is very grumpy and very rude to our heroine, who is, I guess, like an assistant to the PR person for this football team, this college football team, and she is timid, nerdy virgin, which is not my favorite trope, but I'm kind of like willing to overlook it in this case. Her name is Gianna. She is trying to get our hero back from being down in the dumps, I guess you could say. And that's kind of what this book's about. I think what's going to happen is there's going to be like a fake relationship between Gianna and our hero. I want to say his name's like starts with a C, Clay, Chase. I don't actually know. I'll figure it out as we keep reading, I'm sure. But I am liking the characterization, I guess you could say. It is something that feels unique, which I think is rare in a sort of like college football setting kind of story. Usually we'll have like trainer or the coach's daughter or something like that. I think having a PR person in a college setting specifically is kind of unique. I will say I think Megan Quinn does the like PR person for sports teams in professional settings. This one's college, obviously, but I think what's most interesting is the hero. I feel like we either get a fuckboy hero or we get a grumpy hero in a sports romance typically, and I like that this hero historically has been really bubbly and nice, and I like that he's just kind of going through a hard time. I like that he had a high school sweetheart. I feel like that's just kind of rare. Usually if there is a high school sweetheart in these stories, that person, I don't want to say dies, but they either die or they end up with their high school sweetheart, you know what I mean? Like a childhood friends to lovers thing. So I feel like it's actually kind of realistic to have someone like have a high school sweetheart that they are no longer with in college, and having to kind of like navigate how challenging that is. Been there, done that. I don't know. I'm enchanted, intrigued, perhaps excited, and I will be reading this today. Taking a lot out of me though, I will say. Trying to articulate things. I'm still kind of out of breath post illness, but I will be finishing this book today because I need to post this vlog tomorrow. So alright, my friends, ignore my shiny forehead. I am 40-ish% into Blindside by Candy Steiner, and I just came off of reading one of the most relatable scenes I think I've ever read in a romance before. I am very shocked and very impressed. So, as I kind of said in the last clip, this is definitely a fake relationship book. We have Clay, our hero, and Gianna, our heroine, and she is trying to like catch the attention, I guess, of like a local celebrity, kind of. He's just like a singer at their college, and he's like very popular among the ladies because he's hot and broody or whatever. Clay and Gianna are like at a cafe or something meeting up. I remember exactly why. And Clay catches Gianna looking at this guy. I think his name's like Seth or something like that. And he's like, hey, I can help you gain the attention of this guy. Sean? I'll help you gain the attention of this guy. I'll fake date you if you will help me make my ex-girlfriend jealous. I think her name's like Malia or something like that. They decide to fake date. And things turn very real very quickly. There is a lot of like running and jumping into each other's arms and like fake makeouts really early on. And then things become a little bit more emotional and or physical. Clay has kind of a hard day. And, you know, after they've already kind of like met and hung out a couple of times, but he's having a hard day. He comes to her house after she propositioned him for sex. Like, she's gotten closer to this guy that she actually thinks that she wants to date, her crush or whatever, the singer. And she goes up to Clay one day and is like, hey, will you have sex with me? And he's like, okay, sure. He goes to her house, I think that same night or like, you know, around the same time. And he's had a kind of a bad day. He goes to her house and she can tell that like he's not having a great time. So they watch a documentary together, and I think they just kind of like talk and hang out, and you can tell that there's like definitely more there than just like the physical aspect. But then things do get physical. They don't end up having penetrative intercourse, but they do have a little bit of a sexual experience, and I personally found it very authentic. And I think some people are going to read this and think like, I can't deal with another virgin heroine, like it's just not for me, and I get that, but I personally found virgin representation quite nice, and or very relatable. The encounter was very lovely because there's a lot of communication throughout. There is a little bit of awkward fumbling at times, but it still reads as sexy and fun. Something that happens to Gianna at the end of this encounter is definitely something that happens in real life. I don't know, again, I feel very sensitive about reading this because I'm like, I know other people are gonna read this and be like, ugh, this doesn't happen. And I'm like, well, it does happen. Just seeing how Clay handles Gianna, but the way that he like responds to some of the things that happen and like her discomfort and her vulnerability, like it's really sweet, and I really like their relationship. I would like to see a little bit more, I will say, between them in terms of like, again, their relationship development. It's nice to see this progression of it being kind of like this physical and or like deal sort of thing. Like, I'm gonna make sure that I'm not a virgin for this, you know, guy that I like, because he's obviously a singer and more experienced than me, so like I can't be a virgin or whatever. And like it moves, I want it to move past that, I guess. It has in some ways, like there has been like a little bit of you know, talking, I guess, but there hasn't been a ton. But knowing Candy Cider, she is a very talented author, and I've read other books by her in the past, and I know that she is gonna do a good job at like bringing in a conflict and bringing in more of the real life stuff, because we've gotten some hints that Clay's home life is not necessarily the best. His dad left him and his mom at a young age. His mom, bad relationship after bad relationship. She kind of has issues with drugs and alcohol, and he's always there for her, so I'm wondering if that's going to come into play as a conflict. And then, you know, with our heroine, we're not really seeing a lot from her in the way of like having some sort of like traumatic upbringing. She's like a middle child, doesn't really have a strong relationship with her family. She's trying to kind of like prove herself and make her way in the world by being this like PR journalist person, because, you know, no one would expect it from her since she's so quiet. So I'm curious to see like where the conflict's going to come in. I do think his family stuff is going to kind of play into the story a bit, and we've also had some conflicts already, obviously, with the two other like love interests, I guess you could say. Malia is already jealous of the fact that Clay is hooking up with Gianna, and Gianna has caught the attention of Sean or Seth or whatever the fuck this guy's name is. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how they navigate things. I do think it's really nice that even though there is like this, we're trying to catch the attention of these other people sort of thing going on, when they're in each other's presence, like everybody else just kind of melts away and disappears. And I think that's like the goal of a lot of authors when they try to write stories like this, but I don't think it's always successful. And I do think that Candy Cider does a good job at like making you really feel like these two should be together, not like these other you know, people in the background. So I'm surprised that it's taking me this long to read it. I'm not that surprised though. Like, I have a massive headache, which is surprising to me because I haven't been on the computer for very long. I don't get like recurrent headaches typically. That's not really a me thing unless I'm on the computer all day. I don't really know what's going on. I think maybe I just went a little bit too hard my first day, like, you know, feeling a lot better. So I am gonna finish this book tonight though. Like, I need to finish this. I need to get this uploaded tomorrow. I, you know, obviously can do it anytime tomorrow, but I have a busy day, and I do things in the morning, but I have to take my car in to get serviced at 8 a.m. across town. So that'll be super fun. Just sharing my life with you, because minor inconveniences should be shared, right? I feel like I should have updated you more for this one, but it's like, what's there really to share? It's a KU romance. It's a pretty basic plot line, but I think the execution is what really differentiates this one from other ones, especially again with that like high school sweetheart plot line. I'm liking it. It feels realistic to me, and I'll be curious to see our boy Clay ever like really actually wants to get back with Malia or not, you know? I mean, I think like Gianna, it's like she's never been with this like singer guy before, so I feel like it's easier to just kind of throw him to the wayside, but like Clay has history with this girl. What's gonna happen? We're gonna find out. I'm gonna keep reading. I will probably update you one more time right before I go to sleep. No makeup on, looking crusty. Minimal crust because it's the next day, obviously. I am so tired after taking my car to go get serviced, but I did finish Blindside last night, and I'm glad that I got to like sit with my feelings for a second and or again read Goodreads reviews like I like to do, just to see how other people are feeling about the book and just kind of like, I don't know, temper your expectations, I suppose, if you decide to pick this one up. But I ended up giving it 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. It was a pretty refreshing, and I would say like semi-realistic new adult book, fake dating story. Wow. I don't know, it was cute. I liked it. The only thing that I didn't totally love, and the reason this is like a 4-star and not a 5-star, is that I felt like the conflict in the story was a little bit unrealistic. I was trying to like think through it, examine my thoughts and feelings about it, and I do think that the conflict was a bit unrealistic. I guess you could say that like rich people in positions of power definitely can like do stupid shit like happened in this conflict, but it felt a little bit weird for the conflict to be what it was. I felt like there were other things that maybe would have been more realistic. The one thing that I did like in conjunction with the conflict though, and the thing that like didn't totally piss me off was that our hero and his relationship with his mom, like it was very unwavering, and it was something that, while at times I'm just like scratching my head like, why are you acting like this? Come on, like, you know your mom is the problem here. It felt authentic and realistic to me because, you know, this guy's in college, he's only 19. It makes sense that he would behave the way that he does and not see through his mom's bullshit. I don't know if any of that's making sense. You kind of have to read the book, obviously, to know the conflict. I don't really want to spoil anything for you, but I mostly enjoyed the book. I think there could have been more done to kind of wrap up some of the conflicts. I was reading the one like 3-star review that I found. Pretty much everybody loves this book universally, I would say. The one 3-star review that I read, the like complaints were that they felt like the conflicts weren't really wrapped up well, and I do kind of agree with that, and that they also didn't feel like the sex scenes were authentic, which I thought was an interesting take. I get where they're coming from. So the sexually exploratory like moments in this story definitely feel very mature and definitely very well thought out, and there's a lot of communication between the characters, and I can understand why that could seem maybe inauthentic to some people, but I am going to argue that that is not always the case. Even if it's a young person, that doesn't mean that the communication is going to be terrible or that the sex is going to be generic, for lack of a better word. So, I don't know. It's not like there was like a ton of kink or anything in this book, but I guess maybe like the communication and the fact that our hero like wanted to understand what our heroine wanted was like just, I don't know, completely out of the realm of possibility for some people, but I found it authentic. So I'm gonna leave it at that, I guess. Okay, it was good. It was a cute book. I ended up enjoying this one. I don't know if I would like read more in this universe. I think the epilogue for this book is setting up the hero for the next story. I don't know if I care that much. It was one of those books that like, it was very, very solid, but I don't think that I'm going to be thinking about this for years to come. But maybe that's just because I read too much romance. Overall, I had a fun time, I would say, for this video. I had 2 4-star reads and then 1 soft DNF that I will probably finish at some point this month, just because I want to see what the hype's about. Again, I was online and I saw another fucking video about this book, and I was like, Reverse, like, I don't know, I want to like it. It's maybe not for me, but like, I gotta finish it out. So I'll finish that at some point, but I feel pretty confident and good about not finishing it here in this video. So hopefully this was entertaining. Hopefully it wasn't too rambly. I'm sure it was. That last clip, my apologies, because that was like the least articulate thing I've said in a while, but you know, I'm rusty with the vlog stuff. So next video you're going to see from me is not going to be a KU video, obviously, but my next KU related video, there's going to be 5 books instead of 3, so hopefully you're excited for that. 2 of the books I've already read and enjoyed, so off to a good start for that one. But thanks so much for watching this. Love you so much, and until next time.